Thank you very much.
So I can, yeah.
Okay, Tashidele, all of you. Welcome back to the second session. We will do the first, taking the refuge in Bodhicitta verse 3 times, followed by Ye Dharma mantra and Heart Sutra mantra. Refuge in Bodhicitta. Where the English can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Setting a proper motivation, just feel that may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Let us take a few seconds. Okay, with this in mind, let's recite the verse together. If you know this by heart, we'll say this. If not, I'll say this, and you just follow the interreflection. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye joda zoge jonam la chanju bardo dane gyapsu che dage jinso kebe sonam tola benjere sangye rubare sho sangye joda zoge jonam la chanju bardo dane gyapsu dage jinso kebe sonam ge tola benjere sangye rubare sho sangye joda zoge jonam Chanjo bardo dane gyapso che dage jinso gebe sonam dola pencere sangye rubare sho eata om gate gate paragate Parasamgate bodhisvatyata Om gate gate Paragate Parasamgate bodhisvatyata Om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha. Okay. The first session, what we said was about the teachings of Buddha, particularly the second turning of Buddha of Dharma, which taught the ultimate reality or the wisdom, the Professional Wisdom Sutra. Professional Wisdom Sutras, we said that they are the explicit content matters and the implicit content matters. And the explicit content matters is all about the ultimate reality, and the implicit content matters about the conventional reality, particularly about the bodhisattva's practices, bodhisattva's paths, and how to become courageous to work for the sentient beings, how to follow the 6 perfections, and so forth. So all these are there as implicit teachings of the Buddha. And given that these teachings of the Buddha, they are extremely precious, by no means they should be led to degenerate on their own. For that matter, say the explicit teaching matters pertaining to emptiness or ultimate reality, they were being inherited by Arya Maitreya. So in terms of the lineage, implicit content matters. Implicit content matters pertaining to the Bodhisattva practices, how to generate bodhicitta, how to practice the sixth perfection wisdom, and so forth. According to Bodhi. Sixth perfection, so forth. They were all being inherited by the Arya Maitreya, the implicit content matters. And whereas the explicit content matters, what is directly taught on the ultimate reality, on emptiness, they were being inherited by Arya Manjushri. So this lineage we should be aware of. The conventional teachings on the Bodhisattvas, the broad teachings of the Bodhisattva's practices were all inherited by Arya Maitreya. And then the explicit teachings on emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness, they were being inherited by Arya Manjushri. Then from Arya Maitreya, all these, the set of teachings were being passed down to Arya Asanga. And Arya Maitreya, I'm sure many of you know already, Arya Maitreya is revered as the future Buddha. Today is the Buddha Shakyamuni's era, and after this is going to be Buddha Maitreya's era. So he's the future Buddha, and as of now, he is seen to be residing in the Tushita heaven after taking over of the Tushita heaven from Buddha Shakyamuni. And whereas Arya Manjushri, most of you know, is the Buddha of wisdom, or in Sutra system, he is taken as the Bodhisattva of the wisdom. So this is the slight difference there. In the Tantra system, he's taken as the Buddha of the wisdom, and in the Sutra system, he's taken as the Bodhisattva of the wisdom. So then from Arya Maitreya, all this teaching on the broad and the wide, the practices of Bodhisattvas, they were all inherited by Arya Asanga. And that was in like 4th or 5th century AD. And whereas from Arya Manjushri, and this whole genre of the teaching on the wisdom of emptiness were being inherited by Arya Nagarjuna. And from Arya Nagarjuna, then all these lineages, they came down, and now we have both the lineages intact. Okay. This is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Now going to the root text. The root text, Heart Sutra. Okay. The Heart Sutra, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, and particularly Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, there are many sutras. The Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, there are many of them, and out of these, this particular one is referred to as the heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. This is a particular text, and we need to learn that the Buddha's teachings are classified into, there are so many ways of classification, one of which is classified into 3. The direct teachings of the Buddha, and the blessed teachings of the Buddha, and the teachings of the Buddha by way of permission. 3. Direct teachings of Buddha, meaning the teachings of Buddha which the Buddha said directly spoke. These are the direct teachings of Buddha. And number 2 is the blessed teachings of the Buddha, blessed teachings. The teachings of Buddha by way of the Buddha blessing them, and then these teachings turn out to be Buddha's teachings. And I'll give you the examples. And the third one is known as the teachings of the Buddha in ways of permission. Okay. The first one is when the Buddha taught that the truth of suffering is to be identified. Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. The truth of the cessation of the suffering is to be cessation of suffering is to be the actualized. The truth of the path leading to cessation is to be practiced or meditated upon. In the first temple of Dharma, when the Buddha taught directly through his own words, these are things that he directly taught. These are known as the direct teachings of the Buddha. This is one class. Number two is that they say you may be sitting under a tree, and because the Buddha blessed it, then the leaves, they rattle with the wind, they rattle. And for us, the ordinary people, we just hear the words rattling sound, like this. Whereas when that is blessed by the Buddha, then in ways according to the predispositions of yourself, your karmic purification and so forth, then in ways that these, even the rattlings, instead of the rattling sound, you can hear the teachings like all composite things impermanent, all contaminated things are subtle nature, and so forth. So these are known as the teachings of the Buddha, and through being blessed by the Buddha, the blessed teachings of the Buddha. This is number two category. And number three category is the teachings of the Buddha where the Buddha gave the permission, where the Buddha consented or gave the permission. So that is done. What you see here, Heart Sutra, this is of the third category. And within that, we see that there are some sections which the Buddha himself spoke. They are the direct teachings of Buddha, whereas others, the dialogues happening between the Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra. So these are all the teachings. These are all classified as the teachings of the Buddha, but through the permission of the Buddha, or being given the consent by the Buddha, that this is actually where the Buddha approved. Yes, this is what he said. What Avalokiteshvara responded is so good. So when the Buddha gave the approval, so that is classified as the Buddha's own teachings. Okay. Now, if you look at the scenario, for sure there are many of you who went to the Rajgir, particularly Vulture's Peak. So the Vulture's Peak, if you've been there, and even if you've not been there, I would highly recommend that you go there at least, this sometime when the COVID subsides fully. And this particular place, Vulture's Peak, that is a place which is greatly, greatly blessed in ways that not only this particular teaching, Heart Sutra, many teachings were given there on the Vulture's Peak. So this is something we need to consider to make sure that we get blessings by going there, and to feel the wisdom of emptiness, to feel the blessing of wisdom and emptiness by being there. Okay, with this in mind, I'm going to just go through this, and it'll not be initially. The first part is not going to be that difficult, and the part when the emptiness, actual explanation of emptiness, then it can become a little technical. That's where we need to focus more. The overview of what is going to be said, or the synopsis of what is going to be taught here in Heart Sutra, is that initially the background is given. Where the Buddha, on the Vulture's Peak, the Buddha Shakyamuni presided over the congregation, and where the bodhisattvas, the monks, the nuns, the lay audience, they were all there. And then on the two sides of the Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, as given that Heart Sutra is the sutra system, the Avalokiteshvara and Manjushri, Arya Maitreya, they are all treated as bodhisattvas, 10 level bodhisattvas. So Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion, was there. And then Shariputra, the Arhat Shariputra, was also on the other side. And the Buddha went into samadhi, meditation, into emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness. And ordinary people like us, we can just, if we are fortunate to have the vision of the Buddha, then at that point, then we see that the Buddha was just into the meditative state. And meanwhile, telepathically, which means that through the blessings of the Buddha, through telepathy, the Buddha then inspired Shariputra to stand up to ask questions to Avalokiteshvara. Then the Shariputra, telepathically, he could sense that this is what the Buddha is inspiring. Then he stood up, made prostrations to Buddha, then made prostrations to Avalokiteshvara, and started asking questions to Avalokiteshvara, because the Buddha was deep in samadhi on the wisdom of professional wisdom. And then Shariputra turned towards Avalokiteshvara, asked a question. Then so the things, while we're going to study in more detail, but one thing that we need to keep in mind is, what is the question asked by Shariputra? Number one. Number two, Avalokiteshvara responded to Shariputra's question. So what response Avalokiteshvara gave? These are the two things which we need to keep in mind. What response did Avalokiteshvara give to the Shariputra too? And then they say, if we are to practice this professional wisdom, as indicated by Avalokiteshvara, what benefit will we get? In the form of Gade, Gade, Para Gade, Para Samgade, Bodhiswaha. And what is the meaning of the Gade, Gade? Okay, these are the things that we need to keep in mind. Okay, with this in mind, the screen sharing. Okay. It reads, I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. This is so important. Thus did I hear at one time. This is indicating that all these teachings happened 2,500 years ago. Originally, they were not scribbled. They were not scribbled. They were just, say, the oral tradition. Then at one point, after the Buddha assuming Mahaparinirvana, the need for all these teachings to be compiled was felt. And these teachings were being later compiled. And who did the compilation? Who did the compilation? Say, in the case of the teachings meant for personal liberation, for nirvana, the teachings today, what we found available in the Theravada tradition, in the Pali canons. So these were mostly, these were all compiled by the Arhats, like Mahakashap, and the Ananda, Arhat Ananda, then the Arhat Upali. So these great Arhats, they compiled the teachings which are today available in Pali canons. Whereas those teachings that you find today you find in the Sanskrit canons, so they are primarily the Mahayana teachings. And Mahayana teachings were all compiled by the great bodhisattvas like Arya Vajrapani, then Arya Manjushri, and so forth. So these were all being compiled. In the process of the compilation, it is for example, like today, what we call as for example, say, when we do some scientific research, you must comply with the ethics committee. Ethics as what are you doing, whether it's ethical or not, the scientific research, whether they are ethical or not, there's an ethics committee there. It must be actually backed by ethics committee, or in other words, must be the sanction, or given the permission by there should be no objection from the ethics committee. So likewise, the compilation, is it that anybody can compile these, the teachings of Buddha? No. Teachings of Buddha have so many shades, the profundity and so forth. The person who is to compile these teachings, he or she must be extremely, extremely knowledgeable and should have high realizations. So in the case of the teachings for the person, nirvana, teachings related to nirvana, the compilers were all arhats. Arhats meaning those who already attained nirvana. Whereas the compilers of the teachings, the Mahayana teachings, they were all the very high level bodhisattvas on the verge to become Buddhas. Okay, with this in mind, when it said, thus did I hear at one time, this is the word of the compiler, the one who compiled this. One who compiled this, what he was saying that this is not my self-creation. This is exactly what happened 2,500 years ago when the Buddha was still alive, before he assumed Mahaparinirvana. Okay, this connotation, the authenticity of the teaching, to indicate the authenticity of the teaching. So therefore, in Buddhism, this is emphasized so much that when we read the commentaries, it is advised that these what we are doing, say the teaching, different teachings on emptiness, bodhicitta, six perfections, so forth, and the four seals and so forth. These teachings are to really guide us towards nirvana and Buddhahood. It's not just to enrich you intellectually, just to give you an intellectual to make it intellectually stimulating, just that purpose. No, it is beyond that. Because of this, the authenticity of the teachings is emphasized so much that it should not be diluted by wrong thoughts, wrong teachings, or wrong commentaries. So one message here for us from this, thus did I hear at one time, is that even when we read the commentaries today, there are many scholars who write commentaries on the sutras and so forth. The commentaries that we read, that we depend on, must be very authentic commentaries. Authenticity must not be compromised. Because if you, as we reading these materials, are we reading the commentaries and so forth, it is like dyeing a cloth. Dyeing a cloth. When you dye a cloth, initially, if you want a beautiful color, but if you dye this instead of the beautiful color, if it's a very dull color, then finish. You cannot expect to undo this and redo the dyeing with the whatever color that you want. So the point is that initial dyeing, that is extremely important. So for us to leave imprint in our mind of what emptiness is, what bodhicitta is, what the four seals are, and so forth, the sources that you rely on, including the commentaries, they must be extremely reliable. This is so important. So therefore, unlike reading novels or reading commentaries on physics, mathematics, and so forth, for the Dharma material, it is shaping your mind. So we make sure that we don't play with the mind. If you just play with the commentaries, or you just read any commentaries by anybody, some commentaries can be terribly wrong. They can take you to a very wrong direction. It is very important to make sure that the authenticity is not compromised. So with this in mind, it says, thus did I hear at one time, which means that what I am saying, compiling, is, the compiler is saying that what I'm compiling here is what I actually heard at the time when the Buddha was presiding on the vulture's beak. Okay, then the text reads, the Buddha was dwelling on the mass of vulture's mountain in Rajgriha. Mass of the vulture's mountain, there's a mountain there, a particular mountain there, and that mountain is referred to as the mass of vulture's mountain, Chagupumburi, in Rajgir. Rajgir is the name of the place. Together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas, there was a huge gathering there. And at the time, the Buddha was absorbed in a concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound illumination. What is that profound illumination? In other words, the Buddha is absorbed absorbed in the concentration. Concentration meaning meditation, a deep samadhi, meditative concentration. And but what is that particular meditative concentration referred to as? It's referred to as the profound illumination. Profound is the wisdom of emptiness, the emptiness. Profound refers to the emptiness, and the illumination. Illumination is the full awakening of this experience of the emptiness. In other words, direct experience of emptiness. Profound illumination. This is what the Buddha was doing, sitting there, presiding over the congregation, and then the Buddha was deeply absorbed into the wisdom of him. In other words, directly experiencing emptiness. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, the Bodhisattva, the Bodhi. Now, oftentimes there is this Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Bodhisattva, and then you add the Mahasattva. So why is that added? The commentaries, they explain that the Bodhisattva, Bodhi has the connotation of the enlightenment, Bodhi. Sattva has the connotation of, as the courageous one.
We're sorry to inform you, there's a technical problem issue right here, so we'll fix it up in 2 or 3 minutes, so please be on hold. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Also at that time, screen sharing. Oh yeah. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Avalokiteshvara is referred to as the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. And the Bodhisattva has the connotation, and sometimes, of course, the interpretations, there are various interpretations. One which is very appealing is Bodhisattva. Of course, Bodhisattva, when you speak about Bodhisattva, it should be naturally somebody following the Mahayana path. But in Sanskrit, Bodhi has connotation of enlightenment. And enlightenment does not necessarily be the Mahayana enlightenment. It can be even nirvana. Personal liberation is also a form of enlightenment. It's a Bodhi in some sense. Bodhi, Sattva is the one who is courageous to embrace this enlightenment. So those who seek personal liberation, those who are not following the Mahayana path or Bodhisattva path, those people who seek personal liberation, they embrace this, their own, the nirvana, personal liberation, personal nirvana. So they also can be referred to as the
napkins
one who has
the weather like
one who aspires, one who aspires, your enlightenment. So even those people, Shravakas and Predic Buddhas, those who seek personal liberation, even they can be referred to as this. So seeing the tendency that the people can confuse, that it may be referring to the personal liberation seekers, Mahasattva was added. Mahasattva means that it's not just the seeking enlightenment, but seeking the great enlightenment. Mahasattva, the one with greatly courageous one. In what sense? The courageous one to embrace the great awakening, full awakening. So Mahasattva is added to refer to that. And some people, they say that, some interpretation would say that amongst the Bodhisattvas, some are less courageous, some more courageous. Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara, Adamajush and so forth, they are really very courageous. So they are given the extra addition to the epithet Bodhisattva, Mahasattva. So in other words, it refers to the Bodhisattvas. Okay. Bodhisattva, Mahasattva. Arya means somebody. Arya in English is superior. In Tibetan, it is Pakpa. In English, it is superior. Superior meaning superior with respect to the ordinary people. What the ordinary people see and what the Arya beings see in terms of the reality. Arya beings, they are Aryas in ways that they can see the ultimate reality directly. So therefore, they are referred to as a superior one in ways of reality. Okay, Gaswa. Okay. Arya Avalokiteshvara. Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom. So what is Arya Avalokiteshvara doing? At the time, looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom. So this wisdom, okay, so there's some technical issue there with the camera. Okay, so it says that the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, what was he doing? Was that he looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom. Again, this wisdom of emptiness, he was just contemplating on this wisdom of emptiness. Illumination of wisdom, and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. So the Avalokiteshvara, he was just contemplating on the wisdom of emptiness to see that everything is like a dream. The self, the person is like a dream, because you go into the, say, let's say that, so when you look at this flower, when you look at this flower, it's really beautiful, it's very appealing. But if you go closer towards to see it more closely, you end up seeing the atoms. And to be very honest, none of the atom is beautiful and appealing. It's very neutral. Whereas what we see here superficially is very appealing, it's very nice. Whereas we go into atomic level, I'm sure you'll agree with me. How many of you would agree with me that when we go on the atomic level, then none of the atom is as beautiful as this flower? Raise hands. How many of you agree with me? Very good. Okay, so now the point is that then when you go on this atomic level, so say the flowers here, and you are with other people, and you are looking at the same object through, more closely on the atomic level, you see just a bunch of atoms, a pool of atoms. Whereas other people, they were so impressed. This so beautiful flower. On their face, you can see the glow. And there's no glow. What is there for you to be so excited? It's just a bunch of atoms, that's it. Okay, so look, why is this happening? Where you don't respond to this object as very appealed, whereas the others, they were so appealed. Why? It's because two of you are having different perceptions of the object. You are seeing this object in the form of a bunch of atoms, whereas the other people, they are seeing this as a beautiful flowers, bunch of flowers. So those who see there's a bunch of beautiful flowers, fresh flowers, their emotion is uplifted. Whereas in your case, it's very neutral. Your emotion is not as uplifted as others. So you can see the contrast there. But to be very honest, you are discovering another level of there, deeper reality. You are seeing deeper reality. And now what are you saying? I'm just seeing a bunch of atoms. Okay, can you hear me? Oh, yeah, Heart Sutra, there are some obstacles. It's not easy.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So basically, yes, this is a reality that the teaching on emptiness. Okay, it's a little digression, but it's good for all of us to know that. Imagine that you have a heavy debt to pay, heavy loan to pay, and there's no way by which you can pay. And the one who loans you, the person knows that you cannot pay. So the person, either the person will keep watching you. As long as you are in the country, the person will not harass you too much. The moment you try to leave the country, the instant the person will come to you. Come to you and make sure that first pay the loan and then you leave. Otherwise, you cannot leave. Likewise, we're all in samsara. And the moment you try to leave samsara, then the self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitude, or negative karmas, they will stop us, say that pay the debt first. First clear all the negative karmas, and then you can leave samsara. So we are studying Heart Sutra, means we are trying to go to nirvana, go out of samsara. And self-grasping, it comes in the form of different obstacles, saying that, no, you cannot go. First, you have to pay all the debts. Okay, so these are the obstacles. Yes, in a way is like a joke, but this is really the case. In fact, one point, we were planning to do the first Bodhicitta retreat, which part of which later on we did one in the Kalachakra Center. Kalachakra twice. We did twice there, and the first one we did in 2012. at that point, when we were advertising this, announcing this, there were some people who are so excited, enthusiastic. They signed up. The moment it was advertised, they signed up. And they waited for about almost like 6 months. Oh, Tant, can you hear me? Okay, sorry for this technical issues. Okay. So now looking at this object as a flower, the others, they feel it is so beautiful. And whereas you, seeing a bunch of atoms, you don't feel any appeal there. So there's a stark contrast in your emotional development. So that is because that one person sees this as a flower and you see this bunch of atoms. And then how come that you are not seeing this as a flower? Something wrong with your eyes? No, it's not something wrong with your eyes. In fact, those people who see this as a flower, it is their perception. Of course, we'll go into more detail later on. Don't worry too much at the moment. Their perception. And what you see is just a bunch of atoms, which means you are seeing the the components of the flower. You are seeing the, say, the constituencies of the flower. What constitutes a flower? Now, what others see as a flower here, there's nothing flower here. It's simply their perception of the flower. And you are seeing a deeper reality in the form of the subtler parts of the flower. And even this perception is also deceptive in ways that those people who can see these atoms on the subatomic level, like electrons, protons, and neutrons, at that point, they will not even see the atoms. They will see the electrons, protons, neutrons. So where was these atoms? Where are these atoms now? Even these atoms are simply your perception. They are not really there from the object. Okay, so from this, what we see is that you always tend to see the object and its parts. When you go into the parts, object per se disappears, indicating that what you earlier saw as the object, that was simply your projection, was not really there from the object as that particular object as a flower or the person or whatever. Is all your projection. Of course, this says it'll take time for us to get sense of this. We'll go to this in more detail later, not now. Okay, now the point is that Avalokiteshvara, he was going through to see that this person's like a dream. This person like a dream. Okay, let me give you this example. Let's say that when you are looking at when you're looking at me, you see as a person. Do you agree with me that this, what you see as the human body, this nothing but made of, I think is about like, if I'm not wrong, I say if I weigh 70 kg, then it is like the number of the atoms which constitute my body is like is into 7 into billion into billion into billion atoms. This is the number of the atoms that constitute my body. If you weigh 80 kg, it's like 80 into billion into billion into billion, which means like at the 8 into 10 to the raised to power 27 atoms. This is the number of the atoms that make your body. Now with this, I'll say then what of the atoms? Even the atoms are made of sub-elementary particles. From this, what we see is that the first thing that I like to share with you a little bit is that when you see your, let's say your husband, your wife, your child, your mom, your dad, when you see that person, you see as a person. And do you agree with me that this person's physical body is nothing but made of billions of atoms? How many agree with me? Raise hands. Okay, good. Now, how many of you see the same person as just a bunch of atoms? How many see that? Raise hands. You cannot see that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine in your thought that, yes, just billions of atoms? Can you imagine that? Raise hands. Even though you may not see it like that, but can you imagine that? Raise hands. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. Say somebody who you love so much, your mom, your dad, your child, your husband, your wife, your brother, sister, whatever. Somebody who you love so much in ways of a genuine affection. Okay, just think of that person. Don't go into atoms for the time being. Just think of that person. Just think, close your eyes and think of that person. Okay, don't forget this now. Okay, now open your eyes. Don't forget this, the appearance of this person. Don't forget it. Now we do the next exercise. We see just contemplate that. Okay, now close your eyes and follow this instruction. Contemplate that this person is but nothing made of billions and billions and billions of atoms. Okay, just contemplate on this. Yes, that's very true. Not only true, you just go through as though like you are looking at the person through electron microscope. You are seeing the same person, but not the same object, not as person, but bunch of atom, pool of atoms. Just try to see that pool of atoms. Okay, okay. Now open your eyes. Is there any difference between these two perceptions? One, where you see the same object as your very beloved, dear person who's dear to you. Okay, my son, my daughter, my father, my mom, and so forth. On the other hand, the same person is seen as just a pool of atoms. Okay, tell me what's the difference. Anybody raise hands, very quick. Anybody, anyone. Okay, Maria, Mary.
Vision en atome, mais il n'y a rien, c'est fade. On n'a pas de sentiment, il n'y a rien, c'est quelque chose de fade, il n'y a rien. On ne ressent rien, aucun sentiment, ça c'est un vide.
Okay, good. Thank you. Tubten Changjubla.
Geshe-la, the emotion that we have towards the person suddenly becomes diluted. We simply lose all the attraction or the other emotions that we have, and we start seeing that person in a very different shape.
Okay, so we see that what Mary said, what Tubten Changjubla said, these two tally. Where when you see as that the person, then the emotions are there, feeling of closeness, affinity, and so forth. The moment we see the same person in the form of that pool of atoms, all those emotions simply shut down, or they dissolve, they disappear. Okay, thank you so much, Mary and Tubten Changjubla. How many of you agree with two of them? Raise hands. Okay, most of you agree, right? Okay, most of you agree, and some of you may not agree. Those who do not agree, raise your hands. Okay, the Isabelle,
Est-ce que je peux poser, dire quelque chose? Parce que je trouve que cette vision, elle est très triste. Moi, je visualisais ma petite fille et et les atomes, ça m'a créé de la tristesse. Voilà.
Oh, yes, that's true. So in a way, what Isabel said and what Tubten Changjubla, Mary said, they are all the same. So there, when you have a tremendous affinity to somebody, then when you see the same person, which otherwise give you a feeling of, say, the affinity, love, and so forth. Suddenly, when you see the person in the light of the atoms, that object, which otherwise gives you these emotions, stops, and then you feel sad because now you are not only seeing you are seeing the other person in the form of atoms, but you're not seeing yourself as atoms. You're seeing yourself as a concrete person who wants somebody to whom you love, who wants somebody to love you. So this is what you are craving for. When that is gone, then that sadness comes to you. What you said is very true. And even stronger would be when this self, when you see this self in the bunch of atoms, then even the sadness, not only sadness can be replaced by the fear. Okay, this is what can potentially happen. So in other words, we all agree that there's a fluctuation in the emotions, either from emotion to zero emotion or pleasant emotion to unpleasant emotion. How many agree with me? I hope everybody agrees to this. Raise hands. Very good. Okay. So with this in mind, this is something we have to consider. This is okay. Yes. Finally, what embodies myself as happy, not happy, and so forth, is all determined by your emotions. Your emotions. And the emotions can be fluctuated by, not by the object, by the perception of the object. Same object with the different perceptions, your emotions can be fluctuated, and then that determines I'm depressed, I'm happy, I'm coming out of depression, or I go into depression. These is all determined by the perceptions, not by the object. But thus far, we have been thinking that is the object which throws me into the depression or which makes me come out of the depression. Okay, from this, what we learn is that, of course, initially it's quite scary. It's quite scary. And yet, if you really fall into this side where you feel really scared and you cannot come out this, and there's a tendency that you don't go into emptiness, you go into nihilism. Whereas the real emptiness experience is that they initially go into form of nihilism. From there, you come out into the actual experience of emptiness. Then the sadness, fear will all be replaced by tremendous joy and tranquility and the composure. This is extremely precious. For this matter, if ever you, by studying emptiness, by reflecting on emptiness and meditating on emptiness, should you ever go to such the state of fear, overwhelming fear, and the prolonged fear, you must have to consult with somebody who is really spend a lot of time on study, reflection, meditation on emptiness. You must have good consultation with these teachers. Otherwise, you can be falling into nihilism. Okay, yet we can come out of nihilism, but the only thing is that we need help. Okay, so with this in mind, when we see that the flower, the person, we see one thing as person, then later you see as simply like the bones, the flesh, the blood, then the space, the air, the consciousness, just like separate entities. There's nothing as the person who I feel connected. We call it aggregates. You see yourself as the aggregates. Even this aggregates are also deceptive. It's just your perception. The person's perception, their perception. Even the aggregates are also perception. Cells are perceptions. Then the chromosomes, DNA molecules, they're also perceptions. Then the atoms are perceptions. No matter how much subtle you may go to see them on the atomic level, you pick up anything, even that is also perception. There's a subtle reality there. So with this, what we see is that what Avalokiteshvara is doing here is that also at that time, the Bodhisattva, text where? To continue reading the text, it said that also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasatva, Avalokiteshvara, looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of the wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Empty of inherent nature means not truly real. Even not only the self is like illusion. You just see the atoms and so forth, aggregates are there. And even the aggregates are also illusion-like. Not only itself, even the aggregates are also illusion-like. Okay. Empty of inherent nature. Empty of inherent nature means empty of being truly real. What does it mean by truly real? There's nothing real. This can be a question. I'll be very happy to address these things later on. Okay, with this in mind, then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasatva. Then through the power of the Buddha, Shariputra, Buddha was absorbed in meditative state, profound illumination. And then the Buddha, through telepathically, Buddha inspired, blessed and inspired Shariputra to stand up. He stood up, met practitioner Buddha, and then turned towards Aravadukthishvara, paid his respect, and then started to ask the question. What is the question? That is so important. What is this question? Then through the part of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasatha, Aravadukthishvara. How should any child of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom train? Okay, this question asked. What is the question? The question is, how should the child of the lineage? What do you mean by child of the lineage? For example, we talk about, nowadays is much less talked about, whereas in those days, like 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, even today in many places, for example, in England, we talk about the queen, the prince, and there's a lineage there. And in many countries, even today, you have the dynasties and the lineage of the kings and the queens. So, particularly in the olden times, when the kings and queens, they're really very powerful. The prince, the son of the king, is considered as very important. Although the ministers, they're so wise, so intelligent, very experienced. The son of the king, who was just like 2 years old, 3 years old, not knowing anything, but people would respect this child more important than the wise ministers in those days. Today, I'm not too sure. In those days, yes. Why this child is considered as very more wise? Anybody raise hands? Very quick. Anyone? Okay. Rinchen Dorjila.
Because he or she holds the lineage.
Yes, he or she holds the lineage. Okay, what do you mean by he or she holds the lineage? Anybody else raise hands? Raise hands. What do you mean by he or she holds the lineage? Important lineage. Anybody raise hands? Quick, 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 quick. We don't have time. Okay. Raise hands. Patrick. Patrick. What do you mean by this young prince holds the lineage of the kings? What do you mean by that?
Yes, the ability to be a queen, a king.
Yes, this is the meaning. Eventually, this small child who does not know anything at the moment, he is going to become the most powerful person in the kingdom. She is going to become the most powerful person in the kingdom. This is the meaning of the lineage, child of the lineage. Okay. Now, here again, here also, this is child of lineage. What is child of lineage? This lineage is not the lineage of the kings. This lineage is not the lineage of the queens. This is the lineage of the Buddhahood. Somebody who can benefit all the beings. And the king, what does it mean of king? King is supposed to be the one to benefit all the subjects in his kingdom. And this lineage is the greatest of the lineage. Greatest lineage to take care of all the sentient beings. And who is that lineage holder? So in the case of the olden times, the prince, the princess, they're considered the lineage holders. And what about this lineage? Who's the lineage? Each, you, he, she, I, you, anybody can be the lineage holder here, lineage of the child. Not that only if you are born in this, then you become the lineage holder. Otherwise not. This is not the case here. Anybody, you can be the holder of the greatest of the lineage of the Buddhahood. You can be the lineage holder. Anybody can be the lineage holder. Okay, but how do I know that? So why this boy is considered very important? Because he's going to become the king later on. Okay, now if you become the Buddha later on, you become the lineage holder of the child of the lineage, this particular lineage. But how can I become this lineage holder? Okay, that is, how will you become a Buddha? How will you become a Buddha? Only when you make a commitment, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. When you make this commitment, when it becomes very genuine, you become the child of the lineage. Because you will become a Buddha. With this spirit, you will become a Buddha. So you become the child of the best of the lineage. Don't be envious of the other lineages, the prince of this, princess of this, and so forth. They are nothing as compared to being the prince of the becoming a Buddha, being the princess of to become a Buddha. There's nothing greater than this. So each one of us, we have the capacity to become the child of the greatest lineage, the lineage of the Buddhahood, to become the full awakened one to benefit all the beings. Okay, now let's say that this morning in the first session, we all took the aspiration Bodhisattva vow. We said that, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. We said it. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart means that I will become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, which means that if that becomes very spontaneous, you already become the lineage holder of this Buddhahood. Okay, now, how come that you become the lineage holder of the Buddhahood? Because I made the commitment to become Buddha. After making the commitment, let's say that, okay, I want to become a Nobel laureate in physics. I'll become a Nobel laureate in physics, and you always end up in the pubs. You always end up in the nightclubs. You are never found in the laboratories, or you're never found in the science labs or with the physics books. Then it's just the shallow words. Well, I'll become a Nobel laureate in physics. When you say I become a Nobel laureate in physics, if it's very genuine, you have to do something. Don't go to the pubs. Don't end up in the nightclubs all the time, right? You have to be with the books, meet with the other physicists. Only then you can expect to become a Nobel laureate in physics. So likewise, as the lineage, as the child of the lineage, the most important lineage, it is by you committing to become Buddha. So what should you do to actualize or to materialize this aspiration? May I become Buddha? How can you become a Buddha? This next question. So this question asks, then through the power of the Buddha, then through the power of the Buddha text. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Geshe Damdul said to Bodhisattva Mahasada Arvalokiteshvara, how should any child of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound professional wisdom train? So I want to become a Buddha. How should you become Buddha? Seed of the Buddhahood is within you. Seed of the perfection within you. How do I know that? Why it is not manifest? Because that is clouded. Because that is obscured by the mental defilements. How to remove the mental defilements? For that, we need to know the nature of the mental defilements. And the mental defilements, what's the nature? Either it is ignorance or the stains of the ignorance. So how to get rid of the ignorance? How to get rid of the ignorance? Ignorance, okay, do you agree with me that ignorance is like darkness? In dark, you don't see what is around you. With ignorance, you don't see the reality around you. So how to get how to get out of this darkness? Light a candle, light a lamp. The moment you introduce light the lamp, the darkness can be eradicated. It is only through introducing the light that the darkness can be eradicated. Likewise, it is only through introducing the light of the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eradicated. This obscured way. And now I come to know that there's ignorance inside which obstructs my Buddha nature for me to experience the fearlessness and infinite happiness. Now I know that I need to get rid of this. I need to, without putting any effort, I need to get out of this. It will never happen. How do? You have to introduce the counterforce simply by saying prayers. Buddha, please remove my mental defilements, please remove my, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. What should you do? Light the lamp, so darkness can be eradicated. Likewise, what should we do? It is only through lighting the lamp of the wisdom that the ignorance and the subtle stains can be eradicated. Okay, so how to practice this wisdom? Because you made this commitment that may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, no doubt you have to remove the mental defilements. Remove the mental defilements, only then you can become a Buddha. Don't look for Buddha outside. So, how to remove the mental defilements? Knowing that defilements are rooted to ignorance, it is only through the wisdom of wisdom. How to practice this wisdom? This question asked by Shariputra. Okay, let's not forget this. This is so important. From this, what we get is that we get two messages. One is that, oh, you know, when we look at the people, you know, some boys, girls who identify, who are seen as, or the prince of this, you know, princess of this, and so forth. Sometimes we see ourselves as ordinary person. I'm just ordinary, I'm a commoner. Or they are aristocrat. But why aristocrat? Why very important? Because they are holding a lineage. So why the lineage is very important? Yes, if lineage is important, then you can hold the greatest of the lineage. So from this, you can be inspired that, okay, the Buddha is there to tell us that everyone, there's no one who's inferior. Everyone can be the most excellent lineage holder. Everyone. You may be born in the poorest of the poor family. You may be born with all these demerits and the lack of facilities, but still you can be the one to hold the greatest of the lineage. That is the lineage of the full awakening. So with this mind, oh, that's interesting. This is a big message that I should not underestimate myself. Yes, we're all equal. We all have the capacity to become the fully awakened one. So I can become the lineage holder, the child of the lineage, the best of the lineage. Number one, that you can be inspired, that you will, you know, come out of your, I'll say, the low self-esteem. You can come out of that. Number one. Number two, be realistic. We have to say that may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, you have to learn how to be awakened. That is only through the wisdom. The next is how to practice the wisdom. The two things. So with this, he said that, we continue reading. He said, Shariputra said that this question was asked. Then Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aravalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Now Aravalokiteshvara gives the response to Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound professional wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Okay. Then the detailed explanations come into play. Form is empty, empty is form, empty is not other than form is also not other than empty. Okay, this is the crux of the Heart Sutra, the next 4 lines. So Aravalokiteshvara advised that anybody who is a child of the lineage, wanting to practice the perfection of wisdom, that person must be able to see that even the 5 aggregates to be empty of inherent nature. In other words, even the 5 aggregates to be like dream. Okay, now what is dream-like nature? This is a point. This is a very important point. How can I see that everything's like a dream? This is a very important point. Okay. Since that we promised to leave the last 15 minutes for question and answer session, I'll be happy to entertain some questions. And tomorrow we'll first have to explain the emptiness. Then on that basis, we have to explain these 4 lines. Okay. Any questions? If your questions, just raise your hands, be it in French or in English, it doesn't matter. Isabelle, you have a question?
Donc j'espère que je reste dans le sujet, mais c'est à propos de la vue de la fleur. Est-ce que la vue parfaite, ça ne serait pas de voir à la fois la beauté de la fleur et en même temps que ce n'est qu'un amas d'atomes? Parce que c'est sûr que voir la beauté de la fleur, c'est un peu émotif, mais c'est une émotion positive. Et est-ce qu'il faut aussi se débarrasser des émotions positives?
Okay. Thank you, Jimbala, Venerable Jimbala, and thank you, Isabel. The question is very good. Okay. I'll say, when you go to a garden with the beautiful flowers there, your emotions, they're extremely peaceful. And are you going to destroy this beautiful emotion by meditating emptiness? Or when you look at your son, when you look at your children, when you look at your parents, or somebody who's so loving and caring, and when you look at that, there's a tremendous, beautiful feeling happening within you. Okay. Is it this meditation, will it stop this beautiful feeling, or this is going to stop something else? And then this feeling, within this we segregate 2 things. Something to be stopped by the meditation emptiness, and this beautiful feeling not stopped. This is so beautiful. Why should it stop it? Okay, this beautiful question. Thank you so much. Now, given that we have only 5 sessions, I'm going to give the answer here. It may turn out to be a little technical, but you can contemplate this over and over and over again. It can be helpful. Okay. Let's say that, when most of us, we must have some form of such beautiful experiences. Like you watch the sunset, there's a beautiful feeling coming in you. You look at the extremely smooth waves on the ocean. There's a feeling of tenderness coming in you. And some of the musics, wow, they just take you a very different the world. How many are such beautiful moments? Raise your hand. Isabel, no doubt, I can feel that she has this experience. Anybody else? Anybody else? Oh yeah, we all have this experience. Yes, beautiful experience. Just amazing. Okay. You want to have this, or you want to have greater than this experience? Raise hands. Okay, if possible, if there's something greater than this, I would like to experience that. Raise hands. Okay, so Isabel, don't think that what you experience, that's just the ultimate. This should not be compromised by the wisdom of emptiness. Because with the wisdom of emptiness, you can get more than that. Isabel, would you be happy if you get more than that with the wisdom of emptiness? Okay, good. Now, how to explain this? I'm going to explain this very quickly here. The true nature of the mind. What is this? What is this feeling? That when you see somebody, for example, like many people, when they see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for the first time, they never saw him before. And they're seeing him for the first time, uncontrollably, tears flow. There's extremely beautiful feeling happening going in the mind. Likewise, small children, each one of us, we had experience of when we were age 4, 5, 6. That's for sure. And most of us, those who have or had the experience of being with a very affectionate mother, and you were in boarding school, and then only after about like few months you're able to see your mother, dad. The feeling to see the parents is extremely relieving. There's a tremendous tranquility there. Total relaxation happens. Okay, you become naughty at that point. So what I'm saying is that there, the mind feels what is happening is that mind, your mind is going towards its natural state. Towards natural state. Still, that is not the full natural state. It's going towards the natural state. When you start to feel that, feel the ease and feel the beauty, aesthetics. Your mind's going through its natural state. Okay. Now, when there's, why it is not in a natural state now? Because there are so many obstacles, there are so many obstructions which obstruct your mind to behave in its natural form, in its ultimate natural form. There are so many obstacles. What are these obstacles? What are these obstructions? Afflictive, the gross afflictive, for example, anger, jealousy, and so forth. What happens is that the moment you feel the anger, your mind creates a barrier between you and the other person. How many agree with me? Raise hands. There is no external barrier. Your mind creates a barrier, and then you will stop talking many things. You will stop saying things which they say, which otherwise you would freely tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your brother, sister, husband, wife, children. But the moment you see this person, there's anger there, you'll stop saying all you want like to say. There's no free flow of your mind. There's no free flow of your physical actions, verbal actions, mental actions. There's been stopped. Who stopped that? The person or your anger? Your anger stopped that. The same person can become the best of your friends. Your anger stopped it. What is anger? Anger is the mental function, a different mental function which does not resonate your true nature of the mind. If the anger is not there, instantly, and instead of the anger, if there's still love and affection, your mind will, this rigidity stops and it'll become ease. It flows with great ease. Okay. So what is happening? The true nature of the mind will be demonstrated when all these mental defilements like anger and so forth, when they are removed. Then the mind will demonstrate its true nature. When the mind demonstrates true nature, it seamlessly flows. That seamless flow, which once in a while happens to you, because some external factors like beautiful sunset, beautiful garden, free flow of the waterfall, and people who are so loving to you when you meet them, then the mind starts to flow freely. So that is manifested in the form of an extremely beautiful feeling. This is what Isabel cherishes. She doesn't want to let go of this. Yet, this is your natural state. This is not a complete natural state. It's a part. Don't be attached to this part. Get the whole. Get the whole. Get the infinite. How do you get the infinite? Let your mind behave in its natural form. Meet with your ultimate natural state of your mind. How to meet with that? Remove all the garbage of your mind. Solid garbage like the afflictive obscurations and the subtle stains. For example, like say, I want to enjoy this beautiful, beautiful juice or beautiful coffee. And somebody smashed garlic in my mug. So this garlic is what I don't want to see in this, because this is for the delicious cup of French coffee. Then, but I see that there's garlic there. Then I put it there. Please take it away. And the person owned up, I'm very sorry, I did it. I thought that, I thought that this is a spare mug. Then I'll clean this up. And the person removed the solid garlic first. Solid garlic. Yes, easy to remove the solid garlic. Remove solid garlic, wash in the water. Okay. Is there any trace of garlic now? No trace of garlic. You smell it? It still smells garlic. That spoils the beautiful flavor of coffee. So, solid garlic is a problem, and the smell of the garlic is also a problem. Solid garlic, likewise, within the mind, there's a solid garlic-like mental defilements like anger, jealousy, ignorance, attachment, and so forth. They are there. These are the solid garlic mental defilements. These stop our mind to flow in its natural state. One. Then, once that is removed, it's not the full story. Once that is removed, yes, the mind flows very closely to its natural state, but still there's the smell of the garlic, which does not allow you to enjoy the delicious coffee. So the smell of the garlic is known as when speaking from the point of view of the mind, that is known as the cognitive obscurations. The smell must be removed completely. Only when the smell, including the smell, is removed completely of the garlic, then you can enjoy the real taste of the coffee. Likewise, you can enjoy, you can meet with the true nature of your mind, where the mind flows in its natural course seamlessly, beautiful, seamlessly. So where there's nothing obstructing you, because of which there's no fear. Number one, you become fearless. Given that it flows so freely, there's a perfect ease coming in you. Unease is not there. Perfect ease has been experienced. Because even the slightest of the pebble is also removed. It flows so naturally there. After removing the cognitive obscurations, the mind flows in its most natural form. That is, the true nature of the mind is that it flows to the infinity. Every atom of the universe, it flows. Not only to your son, not only to your daughter, not only to your husband, wife, but to the infinity. That's the infinite beautiful moments of the mind. This is so beautiful. Wise people will not be attached to the small benefits. They see the broader benefit, infinite benefit, they'll go for this. So if you really cherish those beautiful moments, wisdom of emptiness will not cut those beautiful moments. Wisdom of emptiness will actually pave the way to make this experience go infinite. Okay, how? This next question. This is what somebody should ask me in maybe the 4th or the 5th session. Good, the next question. Okay, Tubden la.
Gishila, I wanted to ask one question that while studying wisdom of emptiness, as you explained in today's class and in the future classes, one learns to see concrete objects as made up of parts and particles and atoms, and we start demolishing the entire perception that we have in our mind of the world around us. The very first feeling that we get is shock, fear. Suddenly, we have no idea of how to see the world. And then the earlier emotion that we had of love or hatred then gets replaced by another emotion, which is shock and fear, and fear, literally nihilism, as you said it. My question is, while going through this journey of understanding the wisdom of emptiness, how does one avoid falling into this shock and fear emotion and truly get into the right understanding of the wisdom of emptiness? Because this shock and fear is so great that it traps you in a very tight way. That is my question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Tudin Shanjula, thank you so much for your question. It's a very good question. Okay, let's say that how our mind behaves. This is very interesting. So you are like supposed to be the neutral person, and your mind is like the neutral person. And then they say your mind always be friends with person A, be friends with person A, let's say. And person is a very, very naughty person. Extremely, it's like a criminal, person A. And yet, the person A, they say, finds that you are very helpful. So the person A, helps you, support you, befriends you. And then in your life, then the person B comes. Person B comes. And person B's behavior and person A behavior, these two are totally opposites. And person B opposes person A opposes person B. And who is your friend, person A or B? You're a friend of person A. So naturally you will support person A. And gradually you come to discover that what the person B is doing is correct and what the person A is doing is wrong. Right? Okay. When you say that for let's say, for 10 years, you have been saying that 2 + 5 = 10. For 10 years, when you are, for 5 years, let's say, since age 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, for 5 years, you have been saying 2 + 3 = 10. You never know how 2 + 3 = 5 or 10 or whatever. You just learned it. Even if somebody tells 2 + 3 = 5, you don't know. Then you reach age, let's say age 15, 2 + 3 = 10. You'll say, no, because somebody gave me 3 apples and 2 mangoes, and it only becomes 5 fruits, not 10 fruits. So whatever I've been learning thus far was wrong. You're getting it? With the wisdom, this is a part of the wisdom. One moment of wisdom is good enough to simply eradicate the darkness of the eons and eons of darkness. So then, when this wisdom, friend B comes, which is the wisdom comes, although initially you support the ignorance, because we have been with the ignorance for all these many lifetimes. Then when this clash happens, suddenly, say the Venerable Elizabeth says that, oh, there's a teaching on Heart Sutra. Then we come there, we're looking for a new friend. Then from the Heart Sutra, we get a new friend in your mind. New friend in your mind. And the old friend is always there. And we see that these two don't tally with each other. These two combat with each other. Then because that this new friend is full of wisdom. And whereas the old friend is just with the ignorance. So you, initially, because you have been very biased, you tilt towards the ignorance, and the wisdom comes, and the wisdom and ignorance, that's a fight. Fight is always manifested in the form of shock, in the form of irritation, in the form of uneasiness, conflicts. You'll feel the conflict in your mind, shock. Now, if there's a real wisdom, then you will come to realize, okay, I never questioned my old friend. Now I need to, I'm smelling something that even I need to question my old friend. You start questioning old friend, then you become a neutral person between the ignorance and the wisdom. And then studying more and more, you come to see that my old friend is full of ignorance. And then you discard it. Then what happens is that your mind will start to flow in its natural state. What is that natural state? Total fearlessness, no shock, fearlessness, and ease. This we have never experienced before. We only experience sickness, aging, death, illness, conflicts, fights among the siblings, fights among the workplace. These are the experiences we went through since many lifetimes and even today. The moment we accompany with this, start to accompany with these two friends, compassion, infinite compassion, universal compassion, and wisdom, then your mind will start to behave in a very different way, where you will feel only love and affection, where you will feel only fearlessness, and you will feel this beauty, which Isabel explained so beautifully, that there's so much beauty there when you feel this love and affection with your children and so forth. This is what you will experience 24 hours. Okay, Isabel, I know that your daughter or your son, sometimes, you know, you have a conflict with your daughter and son. When if the conflict, that beautiful feeling is not coming. But with the bodhicitta and the wisdom of emptiness, these two will never fight with you. They will always give you this beautiful feeling, 24 hours, 24/7. Okay, Tutela, thank you. Okay, next question. Suret, it's you. Emmanuel Conil.
Hello, Geshe. I would like to ask what is the connection between Avalokiteshvara and Siddheshvara or Ishvara? And
what is this? Say it again.
The connection between
Ishvara, what is that?
The connection between Avalokiteshvara and Ishvara or Siddheshvara.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Say Ishvara and Lokishvara. Avalokiteshvara, Lokishvara, Ishvara, Avalokiteshvara and Lokishvara, these two are synonymous. Ishvara or Ishvar. Ishvar is like a word for, say, like a creative God, all-powerful God. Ishvar, all-powerful God. And this Ishvar, all-powerful God, this is what is being accepted by the different traditions in India, different traditions, and within the traditions, non-Buddhist traditions. Within the traditions, they also differ in their own version of what is Ishvar. So some say Ishvar is like a permanent entity, permanent and also impermanent. It's a mixture of the two. And they say that creates everything. Some say, no, no, no. It doesn't create itself. It doesn't create the person. It only creates the things which the person needs. It does not create the person. This is Ishvar. And the Lokeshvar, Avalokiteshvar, these two are synonymous, referring to the Buddha of compassion or the Bodhisattva of the compassion. Good.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Kalpesh, you have a question? Kalpesh, you have a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
hello, Geshe. Geshe, one of the question you almost answered in the question before. The one person has asked, like, you know, the different things comes up, and you know, your mind start fighting the wisdom and your old friend and a new friend. That you almost answered. The one of the most practical question I always you know, go through, like we used to be aware for some time when this kind of, you know, conversation fighting happening, and we used to take a side of our new friend of wisdom, but it always doesn't go through, because sometimes you are in samsara, you will get a different set of reactions from the different people, different situation. But this consistency, this for a time being, I make up myself, I train myself, I you know, try to make understand myself, but then later on the situation comes, different situations, so that consistency is not happening, which should be ideally there.
Okay, the Kalpesh.
Yeah.
Okay, the Kalpesh is coming up with one question. How many of you have the same question in your mind? Raise hands. In other words, consistency is not happening, right? I know I know the good things to be done, but it's, you know, I try, right? They say I always get up at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. No, it should not happen. I must get up at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Then I'll do it for 2 days. And again, I'll fall back to 9 p.m., right? 9 a.m., right? Or I'll stop alcohol. I'll say no to alcohol. And then for 1 week is amazing, right? You go, you pass by the pubs and you just close your eyes and you go. And then after 2 weeks, then it's so powerful, it pulls you, the consistency is lost. Okay, how many of this experience? Raise your hands. Not necessarily with alcohol, anything in our life. Okay, very good, very good. So at the okay, let's say that this is a very good question. Thank you, Kalpesh. Okay, let's say that there are 2 rubber bands. There are 2 rubber bands, one with Kalpesh and one with, let's say, the Patrick. And I want a rubber band which remains like, you know, which remains the, okay, the rubber band means it's elastic. You pull it and it goes back. And no, it should not be like this. I want to use this as a decoration around this mug. Then the Patrick, he brings the rubber band. It is, you know, it fits there, it's perfect. But Kalpesh one, you know, I stretch it, it moves. It fits, but I release it, again it goes back. So what's the problem? Kalpesh, tell me. How come that yours one does not stay there as it is? You know, it goes back, like say the bad habits. Bad habits, oh no, this is bad. I should go to the wisdom. And then wisdom 1 week, again, fall back to the bad habit. So like this rubber band, it falls back. But you know, Patrick's, his rubber band, it remains, you know, like what I wanted. So what's how will you make your rubber band to remain as, you know, stretched as how Patrick's one is? How will you do that? Any idea, Kalpesh? If you don't idea, let me know. I will tell you.
No,
you have no idea.
I don't, no.
That's easy. Okay, anybody who's the idea? Anybody? Kalpesh is eager to learn that. Anyone? Okay, do you agree with me that, let's say this is a rubber band. If I keep it stretching for 1 second, it go back. But if I keep it stretching for like 24 hours or for 2 days, then I let it go, it will remain like this. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Okay, Kalpesh, you know that? Likewise, our mind, so the good things that you do, yeah, I know, this is how I do. This is not sufficient. We have to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I'm trying to do that, but after some time it comes back. What should I do? Then there are many things for us to keep in mind. One is don't be too ambitious. Don't try to start big projects, big things. Don't say that from, usually people get up like say 5 a.m., 6 a.m. or let's say 7 in some cases. And you don't be too ambitious. Said you get up only at like 9 a.m. and you, oh, this is wrong. From tomorrow I'll change my habit. That's why I failed to do that. From tomorrow I'll get up at 3 o'clock.
Ça reprend pour le français.
From tomorrow I'll get at 3 o'clock. If you said this is impractical, do something which the normal people do. Don't try to, you know, over exceed the normal, and always take small steps. Don't take big steps. Big steps is very dangerous. Big steps, you can easily fall back. Take small steps is easy. Then the ease will come. Finally, what makes you do A and not minus A is because we're doing A, there's ease. Where there's ease, you will do it. Where it's unease, you will not do it. This is psychology. In other words, what we have to do is that we have to change the unease to the ease in doing A. How to do that? So there, the whole psychology is there. Whole psychology is there. What is known as the 5 ever-present mental factors. Same, what do you do? That is determined by the feelings. With unpleasant feeling, you will not do it. With a pleasant feeling, you'll do it. What determines a feeling? This feeling is determined by the cognitive thought process. This cognitive thought process, which is broad and profound and accurate, these will determine the feelings to be pleasant and calm. Pleasant and calm feeling will make you to feel the ease to do something, intention to do something. You're getting it? Whole psychology is there. And in fact, this being so well studied under the Nalanda diploma course. If you're not part of it, you can do it. You can join for the next year's program. Next year's program now is already in November, and next year is very soon. So Nalanda diploma course, we study all this in great detail, how to undo our bad habits on the basis of this psychology, studying psychology. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kalpesh.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, that's it. Okay, Venerable Elizabeth, that's it. We stop here today. Yes. Okay, we'll stop here with the end dedication prayer. And from tomorrow, we have one of our Tibet House staff, the morning prayers and the dedication prayers, she will do that. Okay, today I'll do that. Yeah. Okay, we'll do the end dedication prayer together. In the land and circled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful charities, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samanthabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these matters in the best way that I may follow the perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in 3 times so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta, there is not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I in all life, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect in the 2 stages. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts. And may Dharma and the auspicious proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the Pratyeka Buddha Dharma and the beings of the land of snows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who harbor medicine through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddha be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of three jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, may quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even across my life. Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha. Okay, thank you.